Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Andries van Heerden, the CEO of Richards Bay Alloys. Can you give us some insight into your opinion of the Cabinet proposal to perhaps put a tax on the export of raw chrome?
As South Africa, we have the majority resource of chromite in the world. Unfortunately, we are in a position where Eskom does put us on the back foot in terms of producing chrome, ferrochrome that is, to competitive levels. We all know the amount of investment, time and effort that's being put into Eskom. We all know the capability of Mr. De Ruyter and his team, and that they are turning Eskom around. However, we know that that is probably going to take 18 to 24 months, maybe even 3 years. Hence, we need an interim measure to make sure that we've leveled the play fields with China in order to move the business back into South Africa, start up our furnaces, and run it in this interim time whilst Eskom is addressing their challenges and become again the mighty power producer they used to be in the early 2000s. At that point, it's very likely in our mind that these taxes would be reduced again or done away with. If we put a tax onto the ores that's been exported, it would level the field, and it will give us at least 18 to 24 months of possibility to convert these furnaces, to start up these furnaces, to create jobs in South Africa, to increase the GDP in South Africa, whilst Eskom is working to turn themselves around. Therefore, we also believe that the tax is likely to be a temporary measurement until Eskom has been turned around. And then again, we would be highly competitive and the chrome would be beneficiated where it should be, which is South Africa. We need to create our jobs here. We need to add to the GDP of South Africa, and the resource is with us. It is an absolute shame that it's possible that a country like China, who has no chrome of their own, takes chrome from a country like South Africa, which has over 70% of the world's chrome, and then they get to be the price setters in terms of what they pay for chrome. That has to be regulated. Smelters in South Africa, not only ferrochrome smelters, form a big base of Eskom's base load, and it's also one of the best paying customers. If you take that base load away, even IPP technology in South Africa would be really difficult, since there is no base load for Eskom and the network is likely to be very unstable. And therefore, it's also in Eskom and in the country's benefit to have smelters in South Africa running 24/7, 365 days a year, providing this base load and being a good paying customer to entities like Eskom. If we start managing our chrome resource, and do not just give it away, it will force foreign investment back into South Africa and also even probably into downstream industry. The playing field is just not level. Companies like ourselves has invested in technologies to be as efficient as possible. However, we need some sort of management of our chrome resource in South Africa, beneficiated here, and have the playing fields with China level up to the point where Eskom again is competitive. Typically what we would see in South Africa is that we would possibly be able to create 17,000 jobs and more by bringing back the ferrochrome industry into South Africa.
What is the outlook for ferrochrome, particularly that it actually feeds into the stainless steel market?
What we've seen is that projections going forward, even in these volatile times with the pandemic going around, is that stainless steel is still going to grow steadily between 2.5% and 3.5% year on year. For the last 5-6 years, it was as high as 5 and 6% from year on year. And therefore, the market is ever increasing. Our own president is putting a lot of effort into infrastructure, and that obviously needs a lot of stainless steel products in which ferrochrome and other alloy products are used. So we believe that the market is really strong. We believe that we will have year-on-year growth, and therefore the opportunity is great, not only to restart our furnaces, do new technologies on our furnaces, but also to even build additional furnaces.
And the climate issue is quite big at the moment. What sort of pollution comes out of these smelters, and how is this pollution controlled?
you would find that there was an announcement made by a company called Sterling, which do engines from the CO gas, which is flamed off from these furnaces, which is then reused and creates energy which can be used into the smelter itself. In our case, the amount of energy that we could create by partnering with a company like Sterling would be almost enough to supply all our auxiliary power that is needed for the facility, and hence also reducing our carbon footprint. In terms of pollution facilities currently, or equipment that's been used, in South Africa, we've now moved to mostly closed furnaces with proper scrubbing systems in place to remove any dust loading and prevent dust and other pollutants to go into the air. So it's obviously a big focus, and again, something that we as South Africans invest in, and being good citizens to the country. What
sort of level of taxes would need to be imposed on the export of raw chrome to make it meaningful for ferrochrome?
That would typically depend on the type of ore that you would export. LG6 is much more expensive because it's mined in a conventional chrome mine, whereas UG2 is obviously much cheaper as it's a byproduct from PGM mines, and you physically just need the labor on the sort of washing plants to make the UG2s available. So it would likely need to be different to the various commodities, and that would likely, in our calculation, show that it would be anything from 20 to 60%, depending on what you are producing. This tax should not affect South African chrome mines, as their revenue will still stay the same. China has built their smelters in such a way that it uses the cheaper fine ores, and they will not be able to change their technology overnight. Hence, they could always go and look for these type of materials elsewhere in the world. However, the volumes that we're talking about is just so excessive that they won't be able to find enough ore for their furnaces, and hence they will need to take up the tax, which then would level the playing fields, of course, and also ensuring that the revenue to the South African ore producers still stays the same, with some of their market just moving back from China to South Africa where it belongs.
Couldn't the ferrochrome producers go along to the platinum group metal producers and have an offtake agreement with them for that UG2 chrome?
Definitely so. And we've seen keen interest from these suppliers and miners, specifically the platinum group, to either build their own smelters or to partner with smelters like ourselves in order to put in new technologies and beneficiate the chrome locally. It's quite easy to also understand that if they produce their ore in South Africa and they only need to transport it logistically in South Africa, it reduces their risk, as there's no more shipping results needed, and there's obviously no more being exposed to China determining the quality of the ore that reaches China when exported. On that point, it's the export qualities is determined in China, run by a government official state entity, and South Africans has very little control over what the results is shipped in China, which obviously leads to a lot of frustration. All of those risks are removed if the local platinum guys and the other mine producers sell into South Africa and we beneficiate in South Africa.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Andries van Heerden, the CEO of Richards Bay Alloys.